When Clara's father traded her to an Apache chief for nothing more than horseshoes and pelts, everyone thought they'd seen the last of the girl they called too ugly to love. But what happened next would make every person who ever mocked her wish they'd kept their mouths shut. Clara didn't cry when her father handed her over like damaged livestock. She'd run out of tears years ago, after enduring a lifetime of cruel whispers and mocking laughter from a town that treated her like she was invisible. Standing there in the firelight, watching Chief Taza examine her with those unreadable dark eyes, Clara felt something she'd never experienced before. Not fear, but a strange sense of freedom. For the first time in her life, she was being seen by someone who didn't immediately look away in disgust. But Clara had no idea that this moment would transform her from the girl everyone threw away into the woman who would make them all pay. The Apache chief surprised her. No chains, no violence, no cruel words. Just a blanket handed to her with something that looked almost like gentleness. As they rode away from everything she'd ever known, Clara realized she wasn't being dragged into captivity, she was being rescued from one. Little did she know, Chief Taza was about to teach her the most dangerous lesson a woman can learn. Days turned into weeks in the wilderness, and something incredible was happening to Clara. The girl who had spent her entire life believing she was worthless was discovering something that would terrify everyone back home: her own power. Taza didn't just treat her like a human being. He defended her when others mocked her. He protected her when she was vulnerable. He saw strength where everyone else had seen weakness. And slowly, dangerously, Clara began to see herself through his eyes. But their peaceful existence was about to be shattered by an encounter that would test everything Clara had learned. When they found Ruth, the injured settler woman, clinging to her broken wagon, Clara watched something that made her blood boil. This woman, who owed her life to Taza's kindness, looked at him with nothing but hatred and fear. "You're with him?" Ruth spat, staring at Clara like she'd become a traitor to her own kind. That's when Clara realized the horrible truth about the world she'd left behind. At the cavalry outpost, Clara watched in horror as soldiers arrested Taza without question. The same man who had saved Ruth's life was being chained like an animal, while Ruth sat safely by the fire, saying nothing. "It's better this way," Ruth whispered to Clara. "You'll be safe now." But Clara stared at her with eyes that blazed with newfound fury. "You were never the one in danger," she replied. That night, as Taza sat bound in that holding tent, Clara made a decision that would shock everyone. She wasn't going to let them cage the first person who had ever treated her with genuine kindness. Moving through the shadows like someone with nothing left to lose, Clara broke Taza free, and together they vanished into the night. But the cavalry wasn't going to let an Apache chief escape, and when they came hunting, Clara was ready with something that would leave them speechless. 2 weeks later, when Captain Marsh and his men finally tracked them down, they found Clara standing tall beside the man they'd called a savage. But the broken, cowering girl they remembered was gone. "Let the girl go," Marsh called out. "We can still help her." But Clara stepped forward, her voice ringing clear across the clearing. "He's not your prisoner, he's my husband." The words hung in the air like a challenge. This was the same girl they'd all dismissed, the one her own father had traded away like livestock. Now she was claiming an Apache chief as her equal, her choice, her love. And what she said next would become the stuff of legend. "You don't get to decide who I belong to," Clara declared, her voice breaking but fierce. Not you, not my father, not anyone. You threw me away because I was ugly, and he gave me my life because he saw more than a face. I choose him, and I choose this life, and there's nothing you can do to stop me." The captain was so stunned by her defiance that he actually backed down. Years passed, and Clara's story spread like wildfire through both Apache and settler communities. The ugly girl who had become a legend. The woman who chose love over approval and won. When Clara's father died alone and bitter, exactly as he deserved, she felt no satisfaction, only peace. She planted wildflowers by the stream where she and Taza had built their life together, finally free from the opinions of people who had never deserved her in the first place. The girl everyone thought was too ugly to love had learned the most powerful truth of all. Real love isn't about being perfect enough to earn it. It's about finding someone who sees your worth when the whole world is blind. And sometimes, the people the world throws away become the ones who change everything. Clara's story proves that sometimes the best revenge isn't getting back at the people who hurt you. It's building such an incredible life that their opinions become irrelevant. What would you have done in Clara's situation? Would you have stayed quiet? Or would you have fought for the person who saw your worth? Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more incredible true stories that will restore your faith in the power of love over prejudice.